All right, well, I'll kick us off here then. So thank you again for everyone who's able to join us on the call. And then, of course, everyone watching the recording later. This is our HR Council meeting for, what month is this? It is March, and very end of March, and very happy to have Christi Eckert. She's a coalition coordinator for Marion Crawford prevention programs. And talked to us today about suicide prevention options in the workplace. Suicide is a major public health concern and is among the leading causes of death in the United States. Over the last few years, we have seen an increase in suicides among males in the 35 to 55 age range. Most of these individuals work in manufacturing. It is time to take this public health concern seriously and educate our business and communities on this highly preventable problem. Before we get into that, I also wanted to mention that later on, we will also hear from Jessica Weithman. She is she's with Elgin Local Schools, and they'll be covering their new Comet Connections program, which provides students work-based learning experiences and how you all could get involved. And before we get into any of that, I do want to quickly again mention our chamber membership survey. If you haven't seen that, I think the email says something like, we need 7 minutes of your time. That's true. It shouldn't take more than 7 minutes, but it's very important that we get as much response from that as possible. If you haven't taken the time to fill that out, please do. Half of the survey is on COVID-related impact, and it'll really help us know about what the community's needs are and where Marion County businesses stand in terms of recovery and kind of what your future needs are going to be. So if you haven't done that yet, please do. And if you do, you get a chance for a $100 gift card to a local restaurant. So I encourage you all to take time to fill that out. So with that, I will hand it over to Christi.
Great. Thank you, Matt, for having me. And I'm so grateful that you, those of you who are here today, that you were able to take time. I want to share, first off, we're talking about suicide, and that is a really hard topic to talk about. And so generally when we do any presentation in the community, I want people to know that I know this is a sensitive topic and I don't know any of your history. So I don't know, you know, how you're feeling or what you've experienced. So please, if at any time you're feeling uncomfortable, I understand if you need to turn your camera off or any of that, because we do realize this is a very sensitive topic. So I want to start by sharing a video with all of you. It's just a couple-minute video, but really feel like this is a impactful video that can really make a good point. So let me grab this video and see now if my screen share will allow me to share it. There it is. All right. Can you all see a screen with a video?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to play this real quickly just to start off our presentation.
Should there already be audio?
Oh, yes. Why did it not start the video?
There should be an option when you're sharing screen to share audio with it. It should be one like this side. Advanced sharing options maybe or something.
Let's see more. I am so sorry. There we go. Share sound. See if this works.
Yep.
It may be hard to imagine, but according to the World Health Organization, over 800,000 people die each year by suicide. That is more people than are killed in all the wars and homicides combined. Of these deaths each year, more than 40,000 are Americans. That is one death by suicide every 13 minutes. Suicide affects every region of the world and is the third highest cause of death for people aged 15 to 44. And for every life lost, another 25 people will attempt suicide, often causing serious medical injury or lifelong disability. Today, the greatest loss of life is among working-aged men 35 to 65 years old. Men of all races and ethnicities are at higher risk. And from the very young to the very old, millions of Americans think seriously about suicide for days, weeks, and even years. Thinking seriously about suicide is itself a kind of misery index, a sign that something is terribly wrong and needs attention. Most often, what needs attention and treatment is clinical depression, a medical condition that is now the leading cause of disability in the world. In America alone, there are an estimated 15 million sufferers. Most of us are touched by suicide. Some of us have lost family members, loved ones, friends, schoolmates, or colleagues. None of us escapes the loss of people we admire and respect, whether they are people we know or are much-loved musicians, artists, and entertainers. If you have lost someone close to you to suicide, then you already know the considerable cost, the tears and awful pain of loss. And if you are one of the millions who have thought seriously about suicide, then you already know just how lonely and terrible it is to suffer alone. Depression, anxiety, substance abuse, bipolar, and thought disorders like schizophrenia all contribute great risk for suicidality. Yet most people suffering from a mental illness do not kill themselves. They get help, they find a way, and they recover to live full and productive lives. And if recovery is possible, that means suicide is preventable. Thankfully, the world is changing. We understand mental illness. We understand suicide. And we know that treatment saves lives. Right now, our teachers don't teach us about depression and suicide. And our faith leaders often struggle to talk openly about these topics. Too often, doctors can't talk to their patients about suicide, even patients who are sitting in their offices planning how to end their lives, perhaps by overdosing on the medication being prescribed to them. The world remains dangerously ignorant about suicide. So to save lives, we must bring the subject out of the shadows. Effective treatment would save thousands of lives around the world. But we must learn to talk comfortably about suicide, and we need your help to start the conversation. Join us in this fight, a fight to save lives. Preventing suicide. It's what people do.
Okay. So like I said, this is a very heavy topic, and I apologize, but it is it's a topic I'm very passionate about. So I want to pull up our little PowerPoint, and I would like to share with all of you, this is very informal, so please do not hesitate to ask questions. I want you to be able to feel comfortable. If there's something you don't understand, please feel comfortable in asking questions. So the topic today that I'm sharing is preventing suicide in Marion County. As Matt said, my name is Christi Eckert, and I am the Coalition Coordinator for Marion Crawford Prevention Programs. I was hired about 3 years ago to work with drug-free coalitions in Crawford and Marion counties. And then through that, I got very involved in our Crawford Suicide Prevention Coalition. Marion currently does not have a suicide prevention coalition, but being as our agency is a prevention programs, we decided that we still needed to be very proactive in suicide prevention. A number of us in our agency, there's 5 of us, if you're not familiar with Marion Crawford Prevention Programs. Many of you may know us for Teen Institute. My coworkers all work in all the county schools in Marion and Crawford with youth, helping to create strong leaders that are drug-free students and that try to encourage and peer lead their friends to make those healthy choices as well. My job is more community-based. So we decided that, suicide prevention is a very important topic. And so 3 of us were trained in one of the things that I'm going to share with you. And then Paula Brown at the Adam Board is trained in another option that I'm going to share with you today. So I kind of stumbled across this, but I am very passionate about this suicide prevention piece. So on the screen, you should be able to see, here are some suicide facts for Ohio. These were actually collected though in 2018, but they're just very staggering. It's the 11th leading cause of death in Ohio, 2nd leading for 10 through 34-year-olds. Fourth leading cause of death for 35 to 55, which in the video and as well as the introduction that Matt shared is kind of where our focus is going to be. And we'll talk a little more about that and why. But some things to look at too, the cost of suicide. The suicide cost in Ohio is a total of $1,736,643,000 combined. And that's a huge hit, and we're going to talk a little more about that and as it pertains to businesses. You can see that Ohio is ranked 28th, so we are above the national average for suicide deaths, so that's definitely concerning. Here's some local data that I felt was very important to share. This is based on the 2020 Community Health Assessment by Marion Public Health. So youth, there were 8% of our youth that had considered suicide in the past year when they were surveyed. 8% of adults had considered suicide in the past year. And when we think about 8%, that seems kind of small, but that's 4,072 Marion residents that had considered suicide in the last year. 4% of our youth had attempted and 1% of our adults had attempted. Now, something to consider too is that this data was collected before this pandemic. And I know all of you have heard that through this pandemic, we're seeing increased rates in suicide, alcohol use, mental health issues. I know we all probably experienced a bit of symptomatic depression during the pandemic. This has been a very hard time for people. So we have to keep this in mind. And on here, we do have the youth reported academic success had caused them anxiety and depression. 42% of our youth. I don't have the data, but I know that the data was high too, that many adults said one of the things that caused stress and to them was financial problems and worries, which we hear all the time. And I'm sure that percentage was probably high with this survey. But again, still living in a global pandemic, we are probably seeing a lot of people worried about finances and jobs. And so this data is probably much higher currently. Again, this was all pre-pandemic data. So I want you to imagine this truly is a public health crisis. In one of the trainings, I loved this thought process. So if today, when we got off our call, maybe you all got on your computer and pulled up a news source, or maybe you have a radio on at work, and you heard that today an airline carrying 87, let's just say 90 people, airplane had gone down. We would be in shock and concern and, oh, how sad for these people. And then imagine tomorrow you turn on your source of media and you hear again, a plane goes down and 90 people die, 90 people perish. People would probably start to say, well, what's going on? This is a problem. You know, we don't hear this kind of stuff all the time. And if a third day the same thing happens, somebody's probably going to start to demand that people take a look at what's going on. They're going to look at transportation and say, what's happening here? Why is this happening? Well, I want you to think about this though. We have about 90 people a day that die to suicide. And we're not taking action. We are on the cusp of starting to, but if this was a plane crash and 90 people died in 3 days, we'd be doing something. So we need to take action and start to save lives because suicide is very much preventable. As I said, it's a public health problem. It is something that affects individuals, families, communities. But again, the good news is suicide is preventable. And so I'm going to share with you a couple options that and some information that can help us to really make societal change and save lives. So as the video said, and again, Matt's discussion, middle-aged white men between 30 and 60, 35, 55, that range is who we're really, really looking at right now, nationally and statewide. And I would imagine, I was trying to get just recent Marion County data. I couldn't get that, but I do know that some of the neighboring communities, that is the data that we have for there as well. The majority are this demographic of individual. So we also find that in the trades of construction, agriculture, warehousing, mining, and manufacturing is where we see that largest demographic of that age group. But I want you to really put into perspective why we feel like for businesses, they really need to get involved. Health economists have found that the average cost of a suicide death of, for instance, a construction worker or a employee in your businesses would actually cost about $2.14 million. That is based mostly on the loss of life and those loss of years. So that they average out that that individual loses that 27.3 years of productive employment. So that productive employment is lost, causing that $2.14 million loss just with one individual. But the good news is that every dollar invested in suicide prevention, $4.60 would be returned to society. So it's a great way to be able to save lives, increase that, save money, and then also increase prevention. So what can we do to help? So what I want to share is that we need to educate people to reduce stigma. One of the problems is, I said this multiple times, this is a very hard topic to discuss. And it's sensitive and we aren't educated on how to do that. But I have some options to help and in our community and in our businesses to be able to feel more comfortable talking about mental health. So we need to educate people to reduce stigma. We need to train individuals to recognize warning signs. So many times we don't see the signs, and there's we have easy, great education pieces that can help people to recognize and then refer people and get them help. And then we need to just teach individuals how to help. So the two programs that I want to share with you briefly today are QPR and Working Minds. So QPR is a basic gatekeeper prevention. It's intended to just educate everyday people, adults in business, adults in the world, neighbors, community members, anybody. It's a 1-hour training that basically teaches people the signs and symptoms that can be watched for, explains, just and then how to question someone and get comfortable asking, are you thinking of taking your life? The data shows that we can never plant the seed in someone's mind. If someone is depressed or experiencing mental health issues or depression, we can't plant the seed in someone's mind, but we can show that we care, ask them if they need help. We can persuade them to get help, and then we can refer them. And so that's what the QPR stands for: question, persuade, refer. One thing that I always like to tell people, I bet a few of you on this call, or maybe all of you, have been trained in CPR. And in one of our trainings, we talk about this. Many people in our country are trained in CPR, and many of them don't even use it. But businesses feel it's important for them to have that training. This is the same kind of thing. It's a 1-hour training that teaches people those signs to watch for and teaches them how to help, persuade them to get help, and then to refer them to services to better provide for them. So the next training is our Working Minds suicide prevention. It's specific to the workplace. Now this one I like a lot more for more administrative level people, because it does talk a little bit more, like I gave you the statistics on that $2.14 million lost, the years of life. It goes a little bit more into workplace specific, but it is about an 1.5 hour training. And I don't think it's necessary for non-administrative people quite as much. Certainly optional for any business that would want to do it. But I do believe that the QPR is enough for just your traditional employees. I think the Working Minds is a better option for administration. Now, the Working Minds also goes into a postvention piece. So what to do and how to handle if someone in your workplace might have attempted, or if there might have been a suicide completion. And it does give details and helpful hints on how businesses can react and how to kind of, I don't want to say treat, but how to work with your staff in a postvention piece. But both are really great trainings. Currently, we offer both of these through our agency. Both do require a little manual or a book of sort that we would provide to those individuals. They cost about $5 a piece, but at this point, I think that we probably could cover that cost for any businesses. We work very closely with the ADAM board and would love to be able to get into some of your businesses and share this information with you. We always promote some of our local or our national support lines. This is the National Suicide Prevention Line. I keep this number as well as the text line that I'm going to share here shortly in my phone at all times. We never know when we're going to need this. And both of those prevention pieces do teach you how to approach people, how to share this information with them comfortably. This is our Ohio text line, the text for help. It's the text for hope to 741-741. That currently is the text line that we have, and it connects people immediately with trained individuals to help, just like the national call line. The thing that I really want people to remember is with those trainings that we can offer, again, it's an hour to an hour and a half. It really does give people the tools to learn. I feel like we all have tool belts and we need little tools to add to it. And it gives them the tools to understand, to recognize the signs if someone is struggling. It also gives them the ability to practice talking about it. The thing is, suicide is such a stigma topic that we don't feel comfortable talking about it. And if we don't feel comfortable talking about it, then we don't feel comfortable helping others. So we have to start to learn those tools and tips and tricks to be able to help others. For more information about scheduling a prevention training, you could contact me, and there's my number for our Marion office. I would love to share with any of you more information. I can send out to Matt a flyer on both the Working Minds or the QPR training. We just really want to start getting this out in the community and sharing with people just how to be more comfortable talking about this, and most importantly, recognizing the signs. That is imperative at this point and stage in our community. We are losing people, 90 people a day, and that is a lot of people to lose, especially when we know that there are things we can do to help. I would like to open it up for any questions. I'm sorry, Matt, I talked really fast today. I apologize. But I would love to hear any questions or concerns that you may have.
I mean, I could start off by obviously the data you shared about Marion County was troubling. How does it compare, you think, to other communities around us, youth numbers and adult numbers? Is that kind of the percentage wise similar?
Yeah. It's very similar right now. And again, the one thing, and I wish I had the current data for Marion County. I know over in Crawford County, that's another county I work in, during this pandemic, we saw a large increase in suicide ideations reported to the hospitals. specifically in youth, but also adults as well. So, and again, that's just reported to the hospitals. So we don't know those people that are, you know, kind of hiding and don't feel that there's help for them. And again, you know, as parents and loved ones of individuals, we don't always know what to say. When we talk in the QPR training, I did QPR yesterday in Galleon at the health department. You know, it's uncomfortable. You know, if you're in a trained profession, you know, where you work with maybe people on a mental health level, even that, when it's someone you care about or you're concerned with, it's so hard to be able to ask these questions. But both of these trainings really put it in perspective and really give you some tips and tricks to do that, because we would all want to save someone's life if we could.
Beyond specifically suicide prevention, which apparently is there's things underlying it that are affecting someone feeling that way. And I don't. What other resources are there, I guess, to get at if it's in some way anxiety related, mental health related, or is all that going to be covered through the QPR? Or are there other things that we should direct folks to
We can
related to
certainly
mental health?
Sure. The Crawford, Marion, Adam board is a great resource for mental health and referral to services. All the area counseling agencies, Marion Area Counseling, there's a variety of options. In the QPR, as far as QPR, and really for both Working Minds and QPR, what it trains you to do is to approach a person, recognize the signs, ask them if they're feeling suicidal, and then asking them if they will let you help them get help. So then, yes, local resources are all referred to in each of the trainings. So then you have that resource and little, I think both of them provide little pocket guides with just a little card you could carry in your purse or a pocket, a wallet. Like I said, I keep all those resources on my phone in case I would ever be in a situation that I could pull those up and say, here, you know, let me help you. Would you let me sit here with you while you text the text line? Or, you know, if it's a crisis situation, will you let me take you to the hospital? Or, you know, but yes, all the resources locally are addressed and given in the QPR and Working Minds training.
It seems like a heavy thing for an HR supervisor to have to handle or talk about. So I'm glad that there's resources out there to try and make that a little easier for them. So that's good, and it's good to know that you folks are there, of course, if they need additional information. And yes, when we send this out along with the material that you have, I'll make sure your contact information is in there. And like you said, if you're trying to get out to businesses to kind of go through that with them, that's excellent to know.
Yep.
Any other questions for Christi?
I just wanted to make a comment. I thought you did a great job on your presentation, and I think it's really important work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. You know, we want to save lives, and prevention is our business. We're prevention specialists, and primarily, like I said, we really focus a lot on the drug and alcohol piece. But this is still a very important piece, and a lot of times they're intertwined. We do find that a lot of times people who are experiencing those depression and suicidal thoughts and ideations could sometimes be dealing with some substance use disorders, et cetera. So they really do go hand in hand, and in our eyes, prevention is prevention. So we really need to be here and provide for our community. So thank you.
Speaking of that, Christi, did you want to give any kind of updates on, you know, the other prevention side or what's been going on?
Actually, I was going to ask if that would be an option, Matt. So especially because I knew I might talk fast. I am a very fast talker, and I apologize. So I am excited to report for our drug-free Marion Coalition. And Matt has recently joined our coalition and participated with me in a week-long training last week. We've been on Zoom together a lot lately, Matt. But our community received a drug-free communities grant, which you may have seen in the paper. The Adam board did release a press release regarding that. But what that means is our Drug Free Coalition has received a $125,000 grant that gives us money to specifically focus on youth prevention efforts. And so our community, based on the data we have, our efforts will focus on alcohol use, vaping and tobacco, and then marijuana use. And that money we will use to put back into the community to provide education pieces for kids and build our peer-led program, and also educate our community on the items that we need to watch for and how we can help to keep our kids safe. We do know that, you know, our developing teenagers' brains are really at risk when they use drugs or alcohol. And so this grant will focus on youth prevention. Hopefully, we will definitely have that grant for 5 years, but hopefully we'll be able to renew it for an additional 5. So for 10 years, our coalition should be receiving that money. And so we're very excited to have that. We are always looking for individuals who would love to partner with us. It takes a village, but certainly we would love to have any of you, if you have any questions regarding our Drug Free Marion Coalition, we would love to share that information with you. And again, we're very excited about that grant and the opportunities it presents to our coalition.
We're certainly excited too. That's going to be, that's a huge get for the community, and I'm sure more information will be coming out as that coalition continues the work it's doing, and so that's very exciting.
It is.
Thank you again to Christi. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jessica to talk to us about the Comet Connections program.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to try to share my screen here, which doesn't always work. So
I still see it as you are a co-host, and Christi has stopped sharing hers, so you should be able to do it. Just in case, I'll turn on multiple participants can share screen at the same time.
Why does it do this? It always takes me to security and Matt, would you mind just pulling up the flyer for me?
I can, absolutely.
Thank you. I need to figure that out because every single time this is what happens. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is it gonna let me? Oh, here we go. Here we go. There it is. All right. Do you see the flyer?
Yes, it is up. Half of it, at least.
Let me zoom out. That's maybe too much.
That's okay. If you want to just maybe send it out to the group
It will
later,
be. Yep.
that would be perfect. So I am Jessica Weithman. I'm the Career Pathways Coordinator for Elgin. It's K-12 building. So I primarily focus on our high school and middle school right now, but we are in the process of just developing a K-12 streamlined career development curriculum. But my position and our Comet Connections program came out of a very intentional practice adopted now from Elgin for work-based learning experiences for our students. And really, it is designed just as an educational opportunity for students to explore their career interests by working with professionals such as yourselves in the community in all different industry sectors, really guided by the students' kind of input and career interest. And you know, work-based learning, just, I use that term very freely, but a lot of times it's not always clear what that is, but it's really any type of job shadowing, internship, apprenticeship, even like a workplace tour where students can go and have some hands-on real world experience in a job and in any occupation really, or like I said, industry sector. And I gave you some examples of what that looks like. Our program is really designed to be as flexible as we possibly can be for the student and the business on what that experience looks like. So I'm working with businesses to design individual plans for students and schedules and timing for things, and working with some other community partners for whether or not those experiences could be paid or unpaid. I'm hoping that our program will ultimately lead through some of these partnerships, like our local OMJ office, for all paid experiences. That is the big picture goal. So then we can have some, financial literacy coupled with those experiences and all sorts of fun things. But essentially where you come in is just, if you are interested in becoming a work-based learning site, that was kind of the point of me presenting today, is because we're always looking for partners who can offer experiences for our kids. And, a lot of those benefits for our students is not only just career exploration, but really giving them a chance to tie what they're learning into the classroom to the real world of work. And there's also just industry partner benefits as well, which in doing this and participating in our program, it allows them to tap into just a new, generation of employees. It allows them to really let the students explore different industries that they may not otherwise know or even in the area. So I feel like a lot of times when we talk about in-demand jobs in our community, our students aren't even aware of that. So just even exposing them to just the great opportunities here in their local communities. So a lot of benefits for both the students and the employers. Our process is really simple right now, and that's just because we're in the beginning stages of this and we're trying to make it as easy for students and businesses to participate. Essentially, I have students fill out a form where they just submit kind of their availability and their career interest and a specific occupation if they have one. And then I have a Google form for the businesses that mirrors a lot of those same, ideas, where they kind of tell me the industry sector and different occupations that they could possibly offer opportunities in. And some businesses say, hey, we really feel like we can only offer like a job shadowing or a company tour. We don't really want to do anything long-term right now, and that's totally fine. Again, we're trying to make this as easy of a process and partnership because I want to remove any obstacles and just gather as many partners and opportunities for our kids as possible. I have been going out to businesses, obviously, so I can see the work environment and the sites and meeting different people who could potentially be supervisors and mentors to our students and helping them develop like a training plan or kind of an experience plan, what that could look like for our students. And it's looking very different across the board. And that's okay as long as it, fits the business and the students' needs. So if you are interested and feel like you could be a good work-based learning site, I would love if you, maybe send me an email, and I could also reach out to you to maybe set up, like I said, a face-to-face where I could, see the environment and meet different supervisors of different departments, and we could kind of talk about what those experiences could look like. And that's all I have. Unless anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I certainly have some comments in that there isn't a single reason why a business shouldn't be interested in at least reaching out to start the conversation with you folks. It is so important to, I guess, if you're a business looking to ever hire, or if you want to just make sure the community knows what you're doing and just be aware of you beyond what other opportunities there might be. I think it's just so important to just make sure you're connecting with all our school districts. And this is one of those huge opportunities that is just, it seems like a no-brainer to me that you just at least reach out to Jessica to see about getting onto this. And if there ever comes down the line where there's a student who's interested in or there's some match there, Jessica will make sure that you're involved and know, and you folks can flush that out further. But we have a problem where a lot of our students just don't know what opportunities are out there, or what how do we keep them here locally, with some amazing positions that are out there, and just being aware and giving them these types of opportunities is so huge for us, I think. So I strongly encourage everyone here and on the recording listening to please reach out to Jessica. And as more of these types of programs open up, all of our school districts, just reach out to them and make those connections for sure.
Thanks, Matt. I will say one other thing I should mention. I said there's no, at least I hope I said, there's no requirements for our students to participate in our program. However, we are focusing a lot on juniors and seniors just because they are the first to graduate. So if they are not college bound and they are more career bound, we'd like to have their plan set in place. And we are right now having students who can transport themselves or have reliable transportation available to them, as our busing is not, that system is not in place to where we are busing all of our students. But large picture, when the program does get there and we are transporting more students regularly to their job sites, we will accommodate that need and get busing in order. So I just want to make that comment really fast.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments to Jessica?
I have a comment, Jessica. I think this is an amazing opportunity for our students. I have a sophomore in college and a student that is a senior in high school. And I think I love this idea of exposing them to these different jobs as well, because I think at the age of 18, the likelihood of them knowing exactly what they want to do in life is just, it's completely ridiculous to expect that. And I think this exposure to these professions gives them a real picture. And like you said, if they're not college bound, there's still really great opportunities for them to build careers. And so as a parent, I think this is a wonderful, wonderful piece. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And that's what it's about. We just want to give them opportunities to explore different things. And even if it is affirmation that it's something they don't want to do when they thought they did, that's okay. We want them to figure that out now. And I do love this work and think it's really important. And I think it's shown to be already just a real positive experience for our business partners and our kids who I've been able to place yet this year. So we're going in the right direction. It's been a little bit slower start than I would have liked, but that's just COVID for us right now. And hopefully next year we'll gain some more momentum and be able to place even more students. So
even one tour or shadow could shape the experiences or future of a student and direct their lives in a certain direction. So it can be really impactful for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And thanks for giving me a few minutes to introduce the program and myself, Matt. I appreciate it.
And this flyer, along with her contact information, will be sent out to everyone on this and all of the people on the recording and our entire HR roster as well in our database. So we'll be sharing that soon. I think we already did, but we'll share it again.
Okay.
Thank you both again, Christi and Jessica, and thank you all who were able to join us at the time of this recording and those that are watching it later. And we will see all of you back, probably virtual, for next month's HR Council meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.